the stars of this are these two. These guys are the stars. You know, Klopp and Pep. They're really the stars of it, and they're like you're really watching Klopp against Pep. It's not really superstar against superstar; it is Klopp against Pep. So when you're watching, of course, Salah is a great, amazing player. Of course, De Bruyne is an amazing player, and so forth. But you're not really watching it because, oh man, I want to see Salah. You want to see Klopp. The draw of it is are these two. It's not really these two. The real draw of it are these guys because these guys are the ones who have really defined and molded this team. So the character and the way they play 100% comes through them. So you're not really seeing any kind of individual say what's up. So of course these guys they play their part. They play their parts for sure, but not really in the same sense as Klopp and Pep. And that's why I said it's a very it's a rivalry that I think is defined mainly by the tactical personality of the managers rather than the individual brilliance of the players. The players are not the box office draw. Which is why we now come to now this. These games, of course, were crazy and they were huge. But I think one of the biggest draws to these games, I remember, and this was of recently because the Clasico has been big, but the biggest draw were these two. Because these are two amazing players, De Bruyne and Salah. But you wouldn't say that they're the best players in the world right now. See, Salah, maybe in and out and everything, De Bruyne has never really been in the conversation as one of the best players in the world. But these guys were generally the two best in the world. So whether you like Cristiano's way of playing or Messi or so forth, you cannot argue that the amount of goals they were scoring and the level of performance that they were putting was unprecedented. So not only were you watching two amazing teams playing at their heights, you were watching two of the not only the best players of the generation, but guys who gets put into the conversation of like, could these guys be all timers? So there were so many ingredients. Ingredients that goes into an El Clasico, which is what made it so iconic and so amazing. And beyond that, you add this. You see, this is very different from this. You see, these guys are nice. This is friendly. This is Disney Plus. This is Mickey Mouse. This is Looney Tunes. Well, I was about to say and the Animaniacs, but the Animaniacs they were actually a bit crazy. But there is some niceties here. But because see, the thing about El Clasico was not only was it a footballing rivalry, it's also a political rivalry as well because you're dealing with Spain against Catalonia. You're dealing with, Franco. You're dealing with, working class, the regular guys, the little guy, David against Goliath, the fabric of Spain against a section of Spain that wants to break off. So these games were more than football. And I think the players, they felt that. And that's why these games there was always some added animosity towards them because the fans fed it and the players as well. Because remember, like whether you look at a Ramos, that guy wears Spain fully on his sleeve. So does Casillas. And the other guys would now buy into that. Freaking Piqué was pictured voting for Catalonian independence. So you know where he's at, where he was even booed by his own fans when he played for Spain. So he knows that he doesn't give an F. He's like, bro, I'm Catalonia all the way. So there was just something very deep between these guys, which just added to what made these games so crazy. So not only are you seeing the two best players go at it, the two best teams go at it, they hated each other. So you're getting so many spices into this and so many ingredients, which is why these games were watched so much. And I think that it's going to be very hard. Who knows what will happen in the future, but it's going to be very hard for any other kind of rivalry or sets of games to do the kind of numbers or garner the kind of attention that these classical games used to garner. We talked about managers. Again, we have two rivals. So compare this with this. You see, this very friendly, but this is very different from this. You know, they hated each other. They hated each other. You see, remember when I said, like, Pep, he respected Klopp? Pep hated Mourinho because I think Mourinho was a guy who loved mind games and loved trying to get into the mind of his opponents and loved trying to get into the mind of his opposite number. And Pep was a guy who had a very particular philosophy of football. And Mourinho was trying to go against that. And I think I think there was one time when like Pep actually swore, said, "No, I will effing see you there." Because Mourinho 100%, he got into the head of Pep. And Pep hated Mourinho because he hated the kind of answer. Because Mourinho was an instigator. And I think, let's be real, Mourinho will say it to you straight, whether in public or private, that he fully instigated those wars and those back and forth between Real and Barcelona. And I think people said that, like, I think even Spanish media were like blamed Mourinho for the animosity and how crazy those games went. So it was fully deep. So again, we have the players, we have the political background, we have the two top teams, we have the two top players, and we had the managers. There was so much went into this. So much went into these games that you really can't ignore. So unlike what we have from Liverpool versus City, which I just think is sporting rivalry, this was sporting, this was political, this was personal, So again, it just had way too many spices. But I think another big thing as well is you have to look at the guys that played for these teams, And that's what I said, obviously, all roads lead through Barca and Real Madrid. And I think Barca and Real Madrid have had amongst the best players in the world play for them. So Maradona, Ronaldo, Rivaldo, look at Carlos, Figo, Dino. You can throw in freaking Raul up in that piece. You may say that these teams don't have all-time players. These guys, I really believe, will go down as all-time managers. When all is said and done, Pep and Klopp will be in the conversation as some of the greatest managers of all time. To watch the rest of this vid and gain access to more content crack, think about becoming a Patreon member. Click the link below in the description box or head over to patreon.com/halfhope and gain access to more content crack. Let's ride!